pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Duff.
Here.
Irving.
Here.
Kosecki.
Here.
McNutt.
Here.
Pedro.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here. Okay, I guess we're at call the public. So if anybody would like to speak in the public regarding applicants or whatever position, I mean, we're going to have time for the applicants to speak in their interviews, but if anybody would like to speak public-wise, seeing none, okay, we'll bypass call the public then. And I guess, Dave, you want to say anything before we get going here? Oh, yeah, he's got to go back, which, to have the handheld mic.
Yeah, I could either use a handheld, but good evening, and good evening, everybody. If I could just maybe make some opening comments or remarks. First, in terms of what you have on the table in front of you, you have a copy of the agenda for tonight's meeting with a list of the 5 applicants for the vacant council position. I provided each of you with a copy of the applicants' resumes or letters of interest, or both, depending upon what they submitted. And then also there are some sample questions that we had developed that I had provided to you by email before. I printed out a separate copy. There are 5 copies of the questions for each of you. So if you want to use the questions for the applicants individually, make notes or whatever, you can use 1 per applicant. I didn't want to have to make you try to scribble 5 interviews worth of notes on 1 piece of paper. So one thing that I think we probably will want to try to clarify with 4 of the 5 applicants tonight, 3 of the 5 applicants are currently on the Zoning Board of Appeals. 1 is currently on the Parks and Recreation Commission, Parks and Recreation Board. I traded some messages with Jennifer Orlowski with the village attorney yesterday, and she and I agree, after reviewing both the village code and also the applicable state law regarding zoning board, that first, as far as the 3 applicants who are on the Zoning Board of Appeals, state law is very clear that we can only have 1 member of the legislative body on the Zoning Board of Appeals. So if any of the 3 members who are currently on the Zoning Board of Appeals are chosen to assume the vacancy and accept, they will have to resign their seat on the Zoning Board of Appeals. That is, unless council decides that we want to shuffle in terms of who the council liaison is and things like that, but that's really an issue that we would have to address separately. But at least at this point, initially anyway, anyone on the Zoning Board of Appeals would have to give up their seat specifically to be on. And then, in particular, in Mr. Mineletti's case, when I talked to him last week, to set up the interview, he had raised the question with me. I told him I was going to look into it, but his situation is a little bit unique because he is also the chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The state law is very clear that if there is a member of the legislative body who is on the Zoning Board of Appeals, that person cannot be the chairperson. Mm-hmm. So even if it were decided down the road for Mr. Minnelli to be the liaison to the Zoning Board of Appeals, he would not be allowed to continue to be chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals. And then in terms of Mr. McCain and the Parks and Recreation Board, the village ordinance is very clear that we can only have 1 council person on the Parks and Recreation Board, that the other people cannot include any other members of council. So we probably want to try to clarify, probably after all the questioning is done, that if the candidates are chosen, and if they accept, they will have to step down from their seats on the various boards and commissions. So we've scheduled the interviews. I've got everybody coming in roughly every half an hour. As I understand in talking with a couple of you just before the meeting, if there are people that are here ahead of time, I think it's council's wish that maybe you wait upstairs in the lobby while the other candidates are being interviewed, and then I can come up and get you and bring you down when it's your time. But generally speaking, just a general comment, I was pleasantly surprised that we had 5 applicants. And we've got 5 good applicants. We've got 5 people that have all, in one way or another, donated or provided a lot of time and service to the village in the past. And regardless of how these interviews go tonight and what decision council ends up making, hopefully all 5 of them will continue to be active and be involved in what's going on in the village. So those are the only comments I have.
Okay, and I guess for simplicity's sake, I was just planning on reading the list of questions that we had posed here, and then before we get to the last question, we'll just open it up to anybody on council that would have any questions for the applicants at that point, so.
Can I make a comment now? If any of these applicants do not get chosen, they can still get a petition and run for office this fall.
Oh, yeah.
So just remember that.
Yep, in fact, that's one of the questions.
Oh. Well, again, if they were chosen, but if they are not chosen.
Doesn't matter. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yep, either way, so.
Okay.
Okay, well, with that, I guess, I don't think there was any other questions or housekeeping we had at this point, so. I think Mr. Newman's up first.
Aaron and Graham, if I can get you to wait up in the lobby.
So Aaron, just take a seat right here in the center up there.
All right.
You get the good chair.
You get the good chair.
If you get on, that'll be the chair you'll be sitting in.
Eventually,
Right? Because we're getting, the rest of them are gonna be like that too.
This is nice, we should. Good evening.
Hey, how are you?
How you doing? Aaron Newman, I'm 2105 Newport Court.
Okay, so that's the first question, in fact, is please tell us about yourself and what makes you the best candidate for a council vacancy.
Okay, once again, local resident inside here. I actually grew up in Wolverine Lake on the same street that I live on now, a few houses down. So we've been a part of this community since, I was a little guy. We went to, Wall Lake School back before it was Geisler, and graduated from Wall Lake Central. We served in the military, Michigan Army National Guard, 7 years active with them. We have experience dealing, obviously, with conduct yourself with procedures and policies. The military is obviously pretty strict on how they do things. Following that, we also were a member in Central Michigan University in Oakland County Community College, so we do have some education, higher education there. A couple leadership experiences that we have is when I was in the military, I was a senior medic for Delta Company, the 1st of the 25th Infantry Battalion. So I was in charge of about 150 people's health care and, of course, all the paperwork that goes with that. So I'm able to handle a lot of different fingers and pots and be able to keep control of it. With that, currently, we are a local business owner. Actually, own a couple of franchises in the area and a few employees as well. So we are used to handling situations that come up, dealing with sales, management, running budgets, simple day-to-day business operations. So we do have experience with that. I believe a lot of those skills can be applied in a leadership role as a member of a council and trying to help guide the community on a good path, which I think it's already on. We just try to keep chugging forward.
Okay. Second question is, how will your background assist you in being a council person? And you kind of reflected on that, but if you'd like to expand.
And again, too, so currently being a local business owner, we do interact with people. We know how to separate interactions from a professional setting and a personal setting. I believe there is a separation there too. When you have to put a certain hat on, you have to put a certain hat on. Being able to deal with people's needs and being able to come up with a reasonable solution that kind of works for everyone. I think that would apply to a council member. So we don't just simply make a decision for the sake of the majority. We make the right decision for everyone, not to cause harm. So I think those skills would definitely apply to this position.
Okay.
What's your understanding of the function of the council as it relates to village operations?
My understanding is they set governments and guidance to ordinance, planning, legislation, negotiating contracts with, say, the law enforcement, establishing funding for our DPW, and maintaining general safety standards throughout the village, of course, working with the PD, of course. Setting up appointments for members of various boards, obviously, a situation like this, doing interviews, and taking care of the general public's need in whatever situation does arise, the chickens or fools or what may be, so. But that's the role of, the council that is in charge of legislating everything that the village requests within rezoning boards.
Okay. Order of priority, please rank the 2 or 3 most important issues that you feel are facing the village presently.
Well, right now, I think safety is a big issue. This is generally a very safe village, but with a larger population increasing, more traffic on our roadways, something we need to stay focused on is maintaining those safe areas. I know we have some speed control bumps in some places that we've had some complaints in the past. On our side of the lake, I know we've made improvements like our license plate tracking cameras, which if there is an emergency, we can help locate a vehicle quickly. I think that was an awesome thing we did this year. In addition to safety, maintaining communications like the water board and the DNR to maintain our lake. Obviously, that's a pretty central focus for everyone. And maintaining, again, the safety on the lake, which we've done that for a very long time with our marine unit. In addition to that is, I think the key focus is maintaining a good positive budget. Don't overspend our money, but if a project needs to be done, it needs to be done, and appropriately allocating funds is important. I think that's the main focus of the council is don't waste money, but make sure that we are maintaining our village and improving it whenever we can. So that'd be just a few key topics, I think.
Okay. So what would you propose as your solution to the issue you ranked as most important in the previous questions?
Safety, definitely maintaining a working relationship with the PD, making sure they stay allied with the local populace, with the residents. It seems like they always have a very good relationship. I think maintaining that is very important, especially when we have our local events or we have our, corn cob in the park. Those are great times. They're just, pleased to come out, and they do. When they patrol the water, they're always very friendly, very professional. I think those are standards we need to help maintain. For safety, helping them work with the state and working with the county, make sure that we are paying attention to anything that may become an issue and stopping it from becoming an issue, whatever that may be. So using that partnership and then working with our residents, I think we can focus on maintaining that safety standard, the number one.
Okay. This appointment will be to fill a vacancy on council through November this year. If you were to be appointed, do you think you'd run for election for a full term in November?
Yes, I do intend to run for a full term in November.
I think you had before.
I did. It was a challenging time, and we did pretty good. And I couldn't exactly knock on doors that year, so I think we have better luck this time if they'll have me. So.
We're almost through all the perceived questions, so does anybody else on council have any questions for Mr. Newman?
I just have a comment to make. Your number one issue, safety. I agree with you 100%. How our police interact with their citizens, and just how they handle themselves with our residents is incredibly important, and making sure they have the equipment to do their jobs efficiently is just fantastic. Like that new system that we have at the lake. I just saw an article yesterday, they used that in Texas. Somebody did something and took off in the car, and they caught him. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
I guess I know you're on ZBA currently, but council's probably a little bit more enticing as far as timing goes, as far as commitment, so just want to make sure that you had enough time commitment. I mean, obviously you ran before, so, but there's definitely more than one meeting a month occasionally.
Yes, I am prepared to give more of my time. Absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Have you been on any other boards in the past that you're not on now?
Not with the village. The ZBA is the first one that I was actually appointed to.
Any other special interest things that you do that might have a bearing?
We were part of the Masons, Wally Masons. So it's a charity organization, fraternity. There's a lot of parliamentary procedure, how they conduct themselves too. So setting up events, setting up fundraisers, and especially I think that's some experience that could come from that too. Yeah.
Any other questions on council at this point? Before I get to the last one. Okay, is there something that you'd like to express that has not been previously stated that would further highlight why you should be elected in this position?
If you can meet with the local residents, we're not the rock star or famous guy in the neighborhood or anything, but we know enough people that I think would vouch for my character, that I'm in the right place, and we're not pushing an agenda or a partisan thought. We're just want to volunteer our time, and we have an interest in council, and if you're interested in something, you tend to put a more effort into it. So I think people would vouch for me if you were to ask around.
Okay. Anybody else?
Do you have any questions for us?
Well, I've been watching you guys. We're not usually not in the chamber, but we're one of the 14 people who's always on the YouTube view. So I do spy for you. But,
Thanks.
you know, attendance has been up lately. So
Thanks for watching.
So,
Appreciate it. At least we're in double digits. Feel like we're by ourselves here.
so hi, I'm in the room. So I watch you guys. No, I think the conduct of the council's been. You guys have been, since I've been actively monitoring, participating. You guys are doing great. I'd like to be a part of that. I'd like to keep the progress moving forward. I think you guys make sound decisions without pushing too, like, you're not making your own agendas. You're really trying to help the residents. And I think that's fair, and I want to contribute to that. So,
Great.
Would you have an issue being a liaison to a different board?
no, absolutely not. More time we participate, more things we can help out with. It's not an issue. I know there'd be an issue the administrator brought up with the ZBA. And if we have to step aside of that and find another position where we can volunteer time, then we'll find another position. So,
Good.
Great.
Well, thank you for
no problem. Yeah.
Thank you.
volunteering for the appointment, and
Yeah.
also thank you for your service in the military.
Yes, definitely.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your time, and thanks for having me. Give me a chance up here. So, you guys have a good one.
I apologize for being late.
It's okay. We're good. We're good. Take care. Another area.
And Mark, being late only means you get docked 37 cents.
But that's 37 cents.
Can It's gonna break you.
I know.
Well, there's a penalty too. The penalty is $10.
You're killing me, Bill.
If he would've got a ticket
The fine.
on the way, it would've been.
That would've been great.
It would have been good.
Joking about that.
I was speeding a little bit.
Christian was probably gonna pull you over.
Escort me to here.
Just wait, give me a ticket in the basement.
It's in the face.
Yeah.
That is technology.
That identity. Just insane.
I went through with it. Was already.
Insane.
Yep.
The what?
They did?
Remember your,
Credit bureau.
who's the,
Banks and,
Yeah,
artist
the-
with the clock?
Yeah.
Oh, Dolly? Dolly. Yeah.
$7,000
clock behind you.
Yep, in the big seat.
Did you
Get
find
the seat in
out?
the center.
Yes, I've never sat in center.
Comfy seat.
Yeah.
There's been too many people that have sat in that
You
seat
noticed
yet.
that?
Did you explain to him how we're doing
Yeah, I
questions?
see it on, I have a Sky
Yeah.
Miles card.
Okay.
When you log
He
in
heard
to
me.
pay it, They show you your.
But he didn't hear me evidently.
He's just rolling.
So anyways, okay, second applicant, here in Leaborn.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna ask a list of questions that
Sure.
were received here, and then we'll have everybody else have a chance to ask questions, and
Okay.
then we'll go from there, so.
Perfect.
Please tell us about yourself and what makes you the best candidate for council vacancy.
Sure.
Erin Laybourne. I have been a village resident going on my 13th year. I spent 10 years or so in the insurance world, if you will, working as an account management and then in sales prior to becoming a mom. And now I have the pleasure of being a stay-at-home mom for the past almost 7 years to my 3 young children. I think probably the insurance world was less work than being a stay-at-home mom. And during that time, I have volunteered on numerous different boards. Most recently, I serve as the vice chairperson on our zoning board, and have spent time volunteering my time on different nonprofits as well.
Okay, great. How will your background assist you in being a council person?
So I think my background in corporate sales, if you will, coupled with my time being a stay-at-home mom, allows me to have a different aspect on different things that might be going on in the community. I certainly utilize a lot of the services that we have. I'm very active in the community with my children and my family. So I think having that type of background would certainly serve itself as if I were to be chosen as a councilwoman.
Okay. What's your understanding of the function of council as it relates to the village operation?
Well, I think one of the positives that came out of COVID was having all of our boards are now live streamed. So I've spent time, I'm one of the 30 or so people that spend their time watching the council meetings after the fact. Certainly spending my time on the zoning has allowed me to understand the different type of forum that these meetings have. And then just listening to the different meetings throughout the years, whether it be budgets, whether it be concerns from citizens, talking about different projects that the village has going on. I think I kind of have a grasp on the different topics that council discusses on a monthly basis.
Okay. What decision-making process would you use on issues coming before council?
So I think I would use similar to what I do on the zoning board. I'm making decisions based on the information that's presented to me, asking the types of questions that would allow me to make a decision that would benefit the majority of our community. I don't have a specific agenda. I want what's best for our community. I plan on being here for a long time, so certainly these decisions would weigh heavy. Making the right ones would be most important.
Okay. In order of priority, please rank the 2 or 3 most important issues that you feel are facing the village currently.
Ooh. Current issues. Potentially one would be transparency. Like I said, I'm one of the 30 folks that watches these council meetings. I am not on Facebook. I'm one of those people that's not on Facebook, so I don't have that to refer to for information. But to be honest, I serving on the zoning board still, I wasn't aware, I guess, that the community was welcomed to come to different meetings, whether they had a stake in the game or not. Now I understand that certainly we can come to these meetings as a member of the public, but I'm not sure many people do unless they have something that they'd like to present. So I think it's important to make sure that we get that information out to the public. It would be nice to probably have more feedback on different subjects that the council is making decisions on. So transparency might be one of them. And then certainly just safety, just continuing safety, whether that be coupling with our police department. I know I've brought concerns before, just being an active community member, making sure that it's safe for us to be walking in the neighborhoods, whether that we don't have many sidewalks in our community, which understandable, but is there a way for us to make sure that there's traffic flow that would accommodate families and children walking our streets?
Okay. So that being the case, what would you propose the solution to the issue you rank most important? So
Transparency?
probably transparency, I would probably say.
Yeah, that's a good one. Certainly, I mean, I'm very active in the community. I know that coming here tonight, I've chatted with many of my neighbors and a lot of people in the community. So I would continue to do that, whether I'm elected or not, and just making sure that they're aware that they are welcome to these types of meetings, to any of our board meetings, that is, but certainly council meetings, because I think it would be nice to have more of a community input on different subjects.
Like chicken night.
Yeah,
Yeah, I heard that had a lot of interest.
Had a lot of people that night.
Sure.
well, I know we've been wrestling with trying to figure out how to get it out, get that same issue done too. I mean, we've tried to put more stuff on the website, we've tried to put more stuff on the signs. And like you said,
Yeah.
it's, we've wrestled with it, I know probably for a good 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not
Especially the
on
lack of
social media,
newspapers.
Sure.
but we do have a social media page that, in fact, our police chief uses a lot.
Yes, he posts a lot on Facebook.
So,
Yeah.
I think word of mouth is really key, communicating with people in the community.
which is hard to do nowadays too. You know,
Sure.
It's very easy on social media, but it's
So it's
awful
somebody
hard.
that feels left out.
Yeah.
Sure.
Always.
Yeah.
Sure.
Have any other ideas on how to do that? Because we're looking, like
Do
I said.
do you receive village emails?
I do.
I think there's a lot of people that don't sign up.
Don't
for
sign
those.
up for it.
Sure.
I don't know how you can fix that either, but.
Well, there's those welcoming packets, right? When people are
Mhm.
welcomed. I don't know if we capture any of that information at time of sale when they're walking into the village office for the first time. If we're capturing their contact information, including email address, and just sign them up. And there's probably a spot where they can unsubscribe
Mhm.
if it's not something that they're interested in. I don't know if that information is captured currently.
I'm
No,
not sure when we've
that's
updated that, but I know we've talked about it. We've talked about updating that packet. And that's a great idea. It really is.
Yeah, if I could just jump in.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is that when property is sold, the transfer affidavits get filed with Commerce Township,
Sure.
because Commerce Township is the assessor. We do get that information sporadically from the township and from the assessor. I've had conversation with the
Mhm.
assessor about getting us sales, so we
Right.
can establish a list of new residents.
Mm-hmm.
It's something we could do more work on.
Okay. Next question, this appointment would be to fill the vacancy at council through November of this year. If you were to be appointed, do you think they'd run for election for a full term in November?
I would.
Okay. Quick yes. We're at the point, anybody else on council want to ask
Why
any questions?
do you want to be on council?
Be on council. So I wrestled with this. I've thought about it for a number of years, trying to find the perfect time to run for council. And when this opportunity came up, I thought about it. And I just think I'm in a time in my life where I can dedicate time to something like this. Like I mentioned, I think I have a unique background where I was in a 9-to-5, if you will, and I have that background, and I lived in the community during that time. And now I'm fortunate where I am home with my children, and I'm utilizing different services in the community now. So I think I just have a different perspective that would lend itself to council, maybe a different voice with that background.
What did you see as different from when you were working a 9-to-5 to now as a
Yeah.
stay-at-home mom?
I mean, I couldn't tell you probably before being a mom, when I was working in a corporate role, traveling all the time, I couldn't tell you the names of the parks in our community. I probably didn't know as many neighbors as I do now because I wasn't walking and playing and setting up play dates and going to the local libraries. So I think it's different, which is okay, but I think I'm in a different place now where I am spending more time with my neighbors in the community, having different types of conversations. So I think my mind is open a little bit more to the needs of our community. And I think it's nice that, while we don't necessarily have a library sitting in Wolverine Lake, that gives us an opportunity, or myself, to go out and spend time at different libraries and spend time at different parks, and then hopefully bring back different ideas to our community about different topics that might be in play.
Great.
Is there any other life experiences or other board positions you've had with other things like churches or YMCA or girls clubs or anything like that you think
Sure.
we should know about?
Sure. So I did put on my resume back in 2016. Myself and 4 other members of our community got together and had a couple conversations and thought about what can we do to give back to our community. We came up with the idea of starting an organization that would raise money for children's organizations, which is this Party with a Purpose, Inc. So we went through the process of being designated a 501c3 organization. We raised over $30,000 for different children's charities in that short 2 years. And there's a lot of work that goes into to creating that 501c3. A lot of work balancing the books, getting these different types of events up and running, and asking for donations. So a lot of uncomfortable or just unknown situations for all of us. But I think we met those and we thrived. And unfortunately, a couple of those board members moved away, and it wasn't feasible for us to continue, which is why I sought out at that point a position on the zoning board. But I really think that was a really great experience and would lend itself to being a councilwoman.
Great, thank you.
Great. Anybody else? Okay, last question, I guess. Is there something you'd like to express that has not been previously stated that would further highlight why you should be selected for this position?
I think it probably came out in some of my answers, but I'm just really passionate about this community. I'm proud to say that I live in Wolverine Lake and that I'm raising my children here. I'm not from Wolverine Lake originally, my husband is, so it wasn't a hard sell when we decided to settle down somewhere. That coming from the East Coast to the Midwest and then finding Wolverine Lake, where he grew up, it made sense, and I'm so lucky to be a resident here, so I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight.
Great.
Do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so. I think I understand the process and look forward to hearing next steps, and I understand that there might not be a decision tonight. It might.
May or may not. We haven't.
Sure, okay. That would be my only,
That one out yet.
yeah, that would be my only question is
Yeah.
next steps. Perfect.
Well, if we do make a decision tonight, then we can see it for next week. Next Wednesday.
Okay.
So that wouldn't take long. And if you're not appointed, you still can run November, right? So. Okay. Well, thank you for applying.
Certainly.
You heard my comments about the zoning board before, would that be a problem?
I
If
did.
you had to step off the zoning board?
No, I mean, I certainly would miss my time being on that board. I think that I walk away from every meeting learning something. I've enjoyed my time on the zoning board. But if given the opportunity to join council, I would love to do so.
Great.
Time for comments?
No, we already had public comments earlier in the meeting, so, sorry.
Perfect.
Okay, well, thank you again for applying.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Pretty good, huh? Early for Craig? Yeah. About 20 minutes early. Oops.
Can we swap someone around?
We could take some.
Yep, we can take somebody else.
Or we could take, yeah, I suppose we could take Grant.
Yeah, I was gonna just double check, I know Grant's waiting upstairs.
Yeah.
No, he isn't here yet, I'll let Grant go ahead and come down.
Yeah, we could shoot him. I mean, unless you want to take a 20-minute break.
No,
No, let's-
I'd rather
Get it.
get hit it and get up and get out.
Already 10 minutes.
Just pose the question, okay? Don't shoot the messenger. So much fun.
Can we just
No,
call an
just a
order
question,
into,
just a question.
call an order in down the
Like I said-
street and shoot down there for 20 minutes?
Sit the head of the table, if you will. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good, how about you? You're
Great.
better now.
Good.
You're off your 12 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. I got 8 tomorrow and I'm all set. Everybody have a great night.
Okay, see you.
too.
Front and center, Grant. Oh, there's Craig. That's Craig. Whoop, there's Craig.
Should I go up?
Craig's early.
You want to go upstairs?
I guarantee you that.
Want to go, Craig? Yeah. He's here.
Keep order.
We'll keep it in order. Sorry, Grant, we'll see you in about 20 minutes.
You get the nice chair.
Oh, that's the chair?
Yep.
You got the chair, buddy.
Where's the spotlight that comes with the chair?
You get to turn it around so it faces.
I was gonna say, do I have to face the wall?
How's everybody?
Good, how you doing?
How about you? I'm good, thank you. Thanks for the time.
Oh, thanks for applying. Okay, please tell us about yourself and what makes you the best candidate for the council vacancy.
My name's Craig Minoletti. I've been in the village since 1997. My wife and I built a house here in '02 after, unfortunately, the original house burnt down. We have an 11-year-old daughter who attends Loon Lake, so we're very well connected within the village. I've been on ZBA, I think it's 16 years now. Been the chairperson for 10. Why am I the best person for this job? Well, I mean, that's a difficult question because you don't know who the other people are, but I can tell you what I would bring to it. Now, does that make me the best person? I don't know. That's just something that you guys would have to decide. What I'd like to be is I like to be involved within the village. I've come to this one other time when Mr. Malik was put on. I was not chosen, Mr. Malik was. What I love about the villages, I love the lake, I love our parks, our DPW. We have so many great things that other communities don't have. And having a young family, I want to see that continue and I want to see that grow. And being that I've been on ZBA for a long time, and a matter of fact, I believe I sit in this chair, I know what it's like sitting behind this table. It's not something that I take lightly. I've worked with a lot of people on ZBA, and I have a little different philosophy on ZBA than maybe some other chair people have had. I'm more of a believer of getting our entire board involved, more than just trying to, me and maybe one other person or two other people, and we kind of talk, and the other younger people would just kind of follow us. I'm more of a believer of having everybody's voice heard. So I know that people come to these meetings, and if they're not, for example, lakefront owners, sometimes they don't feel their voice is heard because they don't live in the big house and they don't pay the big taxes. But I believe everybody who has an address that has Wolverine Lake in it should have their voice heard, and that voice should be taken seriously. So I guess, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's
Sure, it works.
it's kind of what my thought would be.
Okay, thank you. How will your background assist you in being a council person?
Well, again, ZBA chairperson, so I understand the Village of Wolverine Lake. I understand, again, sitting behind this desk and the importance of it. I am in the real estate industry, licensed builder, licensed mortgage broker. I understand finance. I understand budgets. I run 2 other companies besides my real estate company. We do a lot of developing in Southwest Florida. So I understand what it would be like to have a pot of money and how to divide it and make sure we don't spend more than we have. That seems to be a common theme sometimes in government. I'm so sorry, I thought I turned that off. I apologize. And of course, it's a scam call. Surprise. So I understand what it's like to work within a certain budget and not to go over that budget. I think that's one of the things that would make me really well versed in sitting behind this table. And also, again, knowing some of you already on council, I think we could work well together. But to be clear, if I was somebody that would be appointed, I am someone that's going to have their voice heard. I am not someone who's going to come onto any new board and be a wallflower. I want to be active, I want to be involved, and I want to have the same opinion that everybody else has in regards to, I may differ with somebody on Monday, but I may agree with them on a Wednesday. And it's not personal, it's just, that's just the way it is for that particular thing.
What's your understanding of the function of council as it pertains to village operations?
What I understand with council, what we do is obviously the budget is one of the biggest things that we have to work on to make sure, again, we're not spending more money than we're taking in. There's also things that we do with the village here in regards to the lake, in regards to the parks, working with our existing boards to make sure that our boards are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Being that on ZBA, probably one of the only boards that actually has a public forum that comes to it typically. I know what it's like to sit here and listen to the public and listen to their voice. I think part of being on this council, in this township and village and with any other city, you have to listen to the people. because they're the ones that are putting us here. Now, I might be brought in because somebody's leaving, but eventually someone's going to have to vote for me to stay on this board. So you have to listen to what the people in the audience are saying, because their voice does count.
Okay. What decision-making process would you use for issues coming before council?
I'm a believer that and I'm teaching my daughter this as well, you have to see both sides of the argument. You have to gather all the facts, and then you have to make the best decision possible based on both sides of the argument and those facts. You can't let personal things get in the way of making the right decision. Sometimes, and I say this when our new people come on to ZBA, is that sometimes you have to make an unpopular decision when you're on one of these boards or in council. And your neighbor may not like you for a couple of days because you had to make that decision, but it doesn't mean it's the wrong decision. You have to do what's best for the masses, not on somebody on an individual basis.
Okay. In order for priority, please rank the 2 or 3 most important issues you feel are facing the village presently.
Well, I think the number one thing with the village is always going to be the lake. I mean, that's obviously what we're built around. Now, I've had the opportunity to listen to some water board things. I understand the lake is going in the right direction. I think another issue that's here within the village is the sewer system. We're trying to work on and get through, not only around the lake, but I think eventually the sewer system's going to have to go into the inner part of our community. I'm seeing more and more septic fields, and I'm saying that because my neighbor's septic field just went, and they're on the lake, so luckily they were able to hook up to the city sewer. I'm seeing more and more houses outside of the lake having septic issues. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that the council is going to have to deal with over the next 3 to 5 years, is how to convince people that we need to bring in the infrastructure. And when your septic goes bad, it's time to hook up.
Okay.
And then, of course, parks. You know, we have one of the best parks, I think, around here. My daughter spends a lot of time in it. And I think the park is always something that always needs to be addressed.
Okay. What would you propose as your solution to the issue you ranked most important in the previous question?
Well, again, I think the previous issue, let's just take, for example, sewers. I think what you have to do is you have to get the residents in, you have to educate them on why it needs to be done, you have to educate them on cost. You are going to get a fight from the residents because, again, you're talking $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 that they're thinking they don't have to spend, but you have to show them why not only is it better for our community, but why is it better for the value of their home? Why is their home now worth, again, as a real estate agent, why is their home now worth $10,000 or $15,000 more because they're hooked up to city sewer than a 35-year-old septic field? I deal with that all the time because I do quite a bit of business out here in Commerce and White Lake, and we talk about that. And a lot of times we're doing septic inspections prior to even putting the house on the market to make sure that septic field is working, because that will be a deal killer when someone checks a septic field and finds out it's not. Especially if you don't have sewer available to hook up. A dead septic system, I mean, you could talk $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 to replace that. I think if you show people long-term and give them an option for some type of financing so they're not writing a check for $30,000, because, again, not many people have that kind of money. Show them a reason why it's best and show them a reason how it can be paid for in a functionality to where it's not going to bankrupt them. If you can show them that, I think the sewers could go in. If you don't show them that, I think you're going to fight and struggle with people outside of the lake to get sewers. And I know that's been something that's been worked on here in the past.
Sure is. This appointment will fill a vacancy for council through November of this year. If you're to be appointed, you think you'd run for election for a full term in November?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I can't predict the future, but, I mean, again, sitting here today, I would say yes.
Anybody on council?
I'm sorry, I feel like I'm ignoring you guys by always looking over here.
Do you have any other life experiences or affiliations that you think would be valuable, such as, you know, you were president of the Boys Club Association, or?
No, again, my real estate career keeps me fairly busy. And actually being an active father with my daughter, I'm very active in her life. She's a big time swimmer. Matter of fact, that's where she's at tonight. I don't have a son, so no, there wouldn't be anything. I'd be involved in the boys' club. Is it something that? But I am involved deeply in Girl Scouts. That she's, I just helped her in a cookie booth, for example. So yeah, most of my life is spent around my family, whether it's my daughter or whether, and then the other part would be, of course, my job.
Why do you want to be on the board?
It's something that I've always wanted to do, and now that my daughter's at a certain age to where she is no longer a toddler, I feel that I have the time. Where in the past it may not have been the right situation because I was a little bit limited in time. My job is at a position to where I now have people that work for me, so I am not chained to my desk like I used to be in the past. A little more of a manager type person within my group than I am more of a I'm not a taskmaster to them, but I'm more able to pass along things for them to do. And I want to see this village grow and become a better place. I think it's a great place to live. I think it is a little bit of a hidden jewel here in Oakland County. Again, we don't have a lot of land development, which, I mean, I'm really an expert at. I work with a lot of clients for land development. We don't really have that here, but we do have some things that can be done differently. I mean, we've had an empty old gas station sitting up here on the corner for, God, I think it's been 15 or 20 years since something's really been in there. There's just things that I would like to see different. And I enjoy working with people. I enjoy listening to somebody, like I see a young man shaking his head over there in the white hat. I want to hear what he has to say. And what he has to say may change what we do here in the village. So I enjoy that. I enjoy coming to our ZBA meetings. Unfortunately, we don't have enough of them. We haven't had one since, I think September. And, sometimes it gets a little heated, not only, here at the table, but also in the audience. But, when I go home, I really tell my wife, I really just enjoy listening to other people's opinions on things. Because I think we can all learn stuff every day. I'm not a person to say I'm always right. I'm always willing to hear both sides of the argument. But like I said, after I hear both sides of the argument, I'm going to make what I think is the best decision.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, I'm pretty familiar with what we do here.
Anybody else? Okay, last question. Is there something you'd like to express that has not been previously stated that would further highlight why you should be selected for this position?
No, I mean, I know most of you on this board. I think being here, I've been a resident for as long as I have. I think the one thing that I want everybody to understand is that if I was appointed, that this would be something that I would take very serious. And I know I just saw a young lady leave here that I know fairly well, and I think she'd be an excellent candidate. I'm not saying I'm the perfect candidate. I may not be the best candidate, but I'm the one that I am willing to put in the time to do what needs to be done, not only within our budgets, but I know there's a lot of things you guys do for work sessions. I don't have a quote-unquote child issue where I need to be home at certain times. My daughter's 11, she's self-sufficient, and I have a wife who's a public school teacher, so she's out of school at 3 o'clock. So my time is open to come here to spend with you guys and figure out what needs to be done for this village and what is the best path forward.
Great. Thank you for applying.
Thank you for your time. Any other questions?
Brian, if I could, Craig, when I called you last week and you scheduled the interview for tonight, you had brought up the question about whether or not you'd have to proceed on the zoning board.
Yes.
And I did have some conversation with the village attorney yesterday. And there could be discussion, if you were to be appointed to take the seat, there could be some discussion down the road about possibly shifting and you becoming the liaison to the zoning board. As a general rule, we're only allowed to have one council person on the zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
So at this point, unless council made a decision to change who the liaison was, you would have to give up your seat on the zoning board of appeals. And then the other thing we were able to determine in looking at the state law, because the state law figures into this too, is that even if you were allowed to be the liaison to the zoning board of appeals, you would not be allowed to continue as
chair.
Chair of the
Correct.
zoning board of
Yep.
appeals. So just something to keep in mind. I'm not saying you have to make a decision right now, but if in fact you are the one the council would like to fill the vacancy with, was when you get the phone call, keep in mind that there's a very good chance that you would have to give up your spot in the zoning board of appeals.
If that's the case, I would begrudgingly give up the chairperson's seat because I believe my voice could be used in a better spot here on council. I love the ZBA. I love being the chairperson of the ZBA. I've enjoyed it. But being council, it's just a different scenario. It's two different things. But I just believe my voice could be used better as council than it would be ZBA. ZBA, we're obviously ruling on what somebody's trying to do. They're obviously coming to break our rules, and we're deciding whether we allow them to break the rules. So that being said, I would more than likely, I'm not going to say for sure tonight, but I would more than likely choose council.
I want to let you know that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
That's what the answer to your question is.
I think we discussed that the last time there was an opening when Mr. Malik took the spot. I believe that was something that was brought up because Bob was on ZBA at the same time.
Right.
So I was fairly sure that that was the case, but, again, things can change within the state. I mean, I'd be disappointed. I know ZBA is very tough to fill. I mean, any of these boards are tough to get people, but I do have a really good vice chairperson, and she would be amazing, and I think she would do a great job, assuming she would want to take that role. Any questions I can answer for you, gentlemen?
I think so.
Okay. Well, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry I was early. Usually early's good.
It was good. It was just fine.
Like everybody
We
can go
started
home.
late and we're finishing early at this point, so we're all fine. It's all good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
All right, nice meeting you as well.
Yes, sir.
No, I don't know.
Oh, boy.
Way ahead. That's good.
Should I slow down on the
I think as long as everybody's here, I mean, obviously we would have to wait
Yeah.
Police Academy.
if they weren't.
So he was telling me,
All right.
so he made me at 8 o'clock.
Oh, no kidding.
Hi, Grant. He's back.
Repeat. Rewind. Having deja vu right now.
Okay. We don't have to rush into this, do we? We'll wait early.
It's all right, that's good.
That's a good thing, yeah. Okay, well, thanks for coming, and please tell us about yourself and what makes you the best candidate for council vacancy.
Well, my name is Grant. I've been a village resident my entire life. I've participated in many of the village events, starting from a very young age. Goose Roundup, Nest Destruction, selling tiki candles, just to name a few. I think I'd be a good candidate because I'm very active in the community. I know a lot of neighbors, and I think my background, I'm a licensed funeral director, so really what my job kind of consists of is listening to people, finding out kind of what their needs are, and trying to meet those, and I think that's what kind of the village is here for, is listening to the residents, listening to the neighbors, and trying to find the best way to serve the majority.
Okay. How will your background assist you in being a council person?
I think as I kind of just stated, just listening to everybody, taking input from all the neighbors, actively listening, seeing, kind of engaging in the community, and just having general conversations and finding kind of what everybody wants.
Okay. What's your understanding of the function of council as it relates to the village operations?
My understanding is that's kind of the governing body of the village, so they have a lot of important tasks, kind of overseeing the different boards, working on the budget, making sure that the money is spent responsibly and in ways that benefit the village, but overall it kind of is the overseeing governing body of our community.
Okay. What decision-making process would you use on issues coming before council?
I'm kind of a big pros and cons list type of person, so I think weighing the pros versus cons, but also taking into account each side of the issue and listening to neighbors and being out in the community and seeing, again, kind of what the general consensus would be as far as decision-making, and doing something that would best suit the majority of the village. You're not going to please everybody, no matter which way, but doing something that I think benefits the village greater.
Okay. In order of priority, please rank the 2 or 3 most important issues you feel are facing the village presently.
I think one of the biggest issues would be involvement in the boards. I know I see quite a bit that there's always openings in different boards and getting people kind of engaged and to fill those openings and vacancies. I think another one would be maybe communication, and I don't know if that's entirely on the village's fault. They do the best they can with emails and posting things on Facebook, and I think there's only so much you can do, and some of it has to rely on the person to see that information. But I think those would be the 2 that I can think of.
Okay. With that, what would you propose as a solution to the issues that you ranked most important?
I think a call
If
to...
you want to, you can actually answer both of them.
I think a call to action, I think it's one thing for the village to send out an email newsletter saying, hey, we need someone on the water management board. And I think it's another thing for people on the council, people on the water management board to go to neighbors that they think would be good fits and say, listen, you should consider this or you should join. I think that would be a good way rather than just kind of posting it out there, having people from each board actually going to try and recruit to fill the spots.
Okay, that's a good option.
Yeah.
This appointment would be to fill a vacancy through November this year. If you were to be appointed, you think you'd be able to run for full term in November, or would you run for full term?
If I was appointed, I'd have an intention to run in November.
Well, if you're not appointed, would you have intention to run?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yes, I know. Good. Okay, anybody on council? Questions?
Why do you want to be on the board?
I've always been kind of as involved as I can be in the village, and I think this is another way to be more involved. My grandpa always showed me the importance of stepping up, and I saw that there was a vacancy, and I thought now is a good time, and someone's got to step up, so why not?
Do you have any questions for us?
Not at this time.
I think you have initiative because I think you were the first one to apply. So thank you for that. Anybody else? Questions?
What's changed from when you were, say, a kid growing up here to now? What have you seen in the
You're
village?
still a
that's
kid
changed?
growing up. Sorry, Martin.
But you can vote now and go to a GI and not get in trouble. He doesn't have to have a fake ID, so.
I don't know if a whole lot has changed, really. I feel like when I was younger, I feel like there were more people kind of coming to meetings and things like that, and now it doesn't kind of seem to be the case. But also, I feel like when I was younger too, doing things like Goose Roundup, we'd always have all these people, coming to help, and now it's not as many people come. It's kind of harder to find people to help with things too. So I feel like that might have changed a little bit.
And that's Goose Roundup. That should be fun. It is.
Of course.
Hey, but isn't it like 5 o'clock in the morning?
Can't even do it the last 2 years, geez.
Or this year.
Yeah, or this year again,
Or this
yeah.
year.
I don't know if this is a legal question or not, but do you and your dad agree on things, or always agree on things, or?
No.
'Cause that,
No.
I mean, that could be a potential problem, maybe, maybe not, I don't know. Being as he's already on board. You know, I just wanted to ask that question.
Do any of us always agree on things?
Yeah.
No, I think we're our own people. We don't always agree, but just because it doesn't mean I'm gonna vote one way just because he does, you know, type thing. I don't think anyone has anything to gain from being on the village, other than doing what's best for the community.
I just want to say, I liked your answer on how to improve board participation, because that's exactly how I ended up running, was Walt Miller came over to my house and said, you know, you need to run, we got a vacancy, you know, I don't know how many people are going to, but why don't you get a petition and I'll be your first signature, and I said, all right. And it's actually quite enjoyable.
You know, I agree with that. You know, there's been things that have come up in my life, or I just haven't done it, or didn't go, or whatever, and then when somebody that you know suggests it, or pushes you, and you do it, and you think, man, I'm so glad I did that. You know, but all you need sometimes is that little push.
How do you think you got back on?
Yeah, a big push.
Sorry.
But no, I mean, I think that's very true. I really do. I really do. And I think this is a little off the subject, but it's the same type of thing. We belong to an organization, Ski Club up north, and there used to be a ton of people, and the numbers used to keep going down and down and down and down and down. And people are so busy. What they did for recreation, they're not doing, or they don't want to be involved in a club or a group, and it's more individual things, and so I think it spills into a lot of things.
Well, people give time to the things they value.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, I think it was a good point about recruiting, and get people to value something. And that's when we
I
give
think a
time
lot
to
of
it.
people have generally a lot less time now than they used to. They used to value things differently, like I said.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Grant? Okay, last question then. Are you gonna give us your question? Have any questions for us?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I always have two questions. Do you have any questions for us?
I do not, no.
Okay. Last question then, is there something that you would like to express that has not been previously stated that would further highlight why you should be selected for this position?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
covered it all.
I know you've had a lot of involvement in your years here, so. And glad to see that you're staying here. I mean, you haven't moved away, so.
Nope.
You're gonna be around the area, so that's great. Appreciate your past service.
Thank you.
I think we're done with this one.
I got my bachelor's from UD too.
Oh, did you?
Yep. Then I went to Welsh, you went to Hudson.
I went to Wayne, yeah. Yeah, both Detroit colleges.
Well, thanks again for applying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Grant.
It's good meeting you.
Hour early, hour and 10.
I did send a text over there.
50 minutes.
Asked him to step it up a little bit.
So they transferred the maximum credits for KCC.
Did they? Good.
But you have to, they wanted me to attend, I'm like, yeah. Back then it was $165 a credit. It's gonna be fun. Which is ridiculous.
That'd be nice.
Anything $165.
Yeah, just like that.
So when I went to Welsh after that, it was like,
You are a thirsty drinker.
Well, I brought one bottle for each of the five.
you can $500.
Where's the drinking fountain?
No longer undergraduate degree.
I got one, thank you. You guys need water? Little water? To wear it off? No?
You got another one of those?
Bill wants one.
Are you next in line for that?
Thanks, sir.
I agree.
We'll get you another
She had 511 class.
Well, it's kind of like.
Right?
Open to work. We got stuff for you to do.
For how long?
I don't know if Cody's gonna get here
That's
very
overrated.
much earlier than 8 because he's
Yeah.
coming from the.
I know some
police
schools now do.
Where you going?
It's so much fun.
Credit hours, so
Okay.
It's not that far, it's just down the road.
Yeah.
Come back from meetings.
Yeah, John just, John.
Summertime,
Oh,
we'll have lots of
I mean,
it.
that is, my husband and I did, yeah, that is
Very
one of
much
the
so.
neatest things, that police
Very much
academy.
so.
Loved it, loved it, loved it.
It was,
He is, he's a good,
we have the most,
good young man, makes good decisions.
we only have 17 in there.
That's my
Really?
understanding.
I think 5 of them are from Wolverine Lake,
Wow.
so.
Actually,
Who
Dave,
else? Anybody? Who else?
we want to
I know.
have him put
What's
it
that?
on
Who
intermission.
else is
for
there
now,
on it
for a
this
second,
year? Or who else is attending?
Until Cody gets here.
From here,
Uh-huh.
Barb Tab,
Don't
you
know
know
her.
Barb? And I don't know the other,
Oh.
my wife is.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. It's the 45th.
Wow.
40, wow.
I've been involved in it since it was the, yeah, is there any way to say that we're 16th? Been there a long time.
Hey, wait, I mean, it's a real eye opener. I mean, I think, you know, and it's.
But you get in, once you state something, you get out of it, when you put in.
I mean, they'll just state that
Like
we're
everything
gonna.
else.
If anybody's watching in the audience live right now, we're gonna be on a little suspended wait here until we get our last candidate in here, so we're just gonna be on black screen for probably, hopefully, maybe a half hour, 15, 20 minutes, something like that, maybe longer, but we will be back on yet tonight, so with that. Reed said that. We're back live. So here we go with our last applicant, Cody. Thanks for coming in.
Of course.
So please tell us about yourself and what makes you the best candidate for council vacancy.
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and start with the top of my resume and just work my way down. So I'm a recent graduate of the University of Michigan Dearborn. I graduated there with high distinction, majoring in history and philosophy, minoring in political science and applied statistics. While I was there, in my leadership roles, I was in student government and student organization allocation council. Between those two organizations alone, I managed over $291,000 in student activity fees, large budgets, and being able to allocate those effectively and in the best interests of a large group of people, in this case, the students of the University of Michigan Dearborn. I am no stranger to working with that. That doesn't frighten me, and I know how to navigate that. In my professional experience, it is all things government, from the state and local level all the way up to where I am now with the federal government. I started out with the Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, in her office. I worked on the service-driven initiative. You've probably seen some ads on Facebook in that. I did those. I designed those. I worked with the team that they had working on them and got together stakeholder toolkits for communities that they identified that were having trouble getting access to services. So people who had ADA disabilities, people who English wasn't their first language and they needed assistance navigating, getting like a disability placard or even just trying to renew their license. And that was the experience coming into that with all this information, just having to synthesize it down into like 20 slides to get the details of it. From there, I started working in the federal government with Library of Congress as well as the U.S. Department of State. In there, it was the same idea with stakeholder engagement. So what we were working with in Library of Congress was digesting these materials and putting them into a more popular, easier to read format, and really communicating to all Americans what is available in the Library of Congress. For the diplomat in residence position where I was his assistant, I worked with him to engage our community and engage Southeast Michigan as well as Ohio and Kentucky primarily, as well as Indiana, so that sort of central part of the Midwest. So there's a couple of themes that I've developed through those, and that is that I have the education, the stakeholder engagement experience, and importantly, experience in government in the past, which makes me a great candidate for village council. This is something I'm very familiar with, something I'm very confident in doing despite my age, and I think that I could perform really well in this position.
Okay.
How does your background assist you in being a council person?
So my background, right now I'm working in immigration, and what I think it helps me with in working with council is every day you're working with applicants. You're working with the people that you're benefiting, which is very rare sometimes in the federal government. Sometimes it's so high up there that you don't get to interact with the people you're affecting every day. In immigration, I mean, they're right there. There's the applicants, and they want to come into the United States, and they have, you know, here's all their paperwork. Are they in or are they not allowed in? So that background to me is very helpful because for being a part of Village Council, our residents are right here. Here they are, and we interact with them every day. So my background in working with people directly in a very direct manner and working on projects and policies in my previous internships as well as in my education, those were all people-centric. And that's the background that I bring, and I think that enables me to be a great council person.
What's your understanding of the function of the council related to the village operation?
For me, council acts as a place for people to come with their concerns, but also it's about coordinating all of the boards that we have. I'm a member of the Parks and Recreation Board, and anytime we have a new project or we want to change something about our parks or we want to approve funding for an event, it has to run by council. So for us, and the way that I see it, is that it makes sure that all the pieces of our community are coordinated in a way that allows us to have an effective village, an effective community life, and have an effective village and an effective community life.
What decision-making process would you use on issues coming before council?
For me, the decision-making process is one of pragmatism and what I like to call optimistic pessimism. I'll never say no to an idea. For me, it's about how we're going to go about it and execute it. So a great example of that was in student government when I was still in college. There were times we had policies that there was one way of going about it that was not very constructive, and then there was another way that was far more constructive. One of the examples was we had a tri-campus committee within the University of Michigan system. I was a member from U of M Dearborn. We had members from U of M Ann Arbor and U of M Flint. The members of U of M Ann Arbor, excuse me. Sorry about that. The members of U of M Flint and U of M Ann Arbor wanted to do the more protest route of staging a big protest against, the lack of funding for U of M Dearborn and U of M Flint. Dearborn, myself, and members of the executive board at the time, what we wanted to do is we wanted to have a direct conversation with the board of trustees for the university, and that was ultimately what got us the $10 million for both U of M Flint and U of M Dearborn, was having direct conversations with each of the trustees and going about it in a more practical and pragmatic way, because U of M Flint and U of M Dearborn really did need the funding, but the way that it was initially being proposed was not constructive and wasn't going to lead anywhere.
Can I follow up on that question? You
Sure.
said that you, I'm not sure exactly how you phrased it, but that you don't necessarily disagree with any statement or proposal?
Sure, so I can
So,
clarify.
Hold on.
Sure.
Hold on. My question is, so if somebody comes to you and says, we need to defund the police, are you going to immediately then take that idea and try to force council down that path?
No, absolutely not.
Then please
Sure.
explain that.
Sure, absolutely. We'll run with your example. So in the example of defunding the police, for me, the answer is not throwing out the question altogether. It's asking, okay, why? Why do we want to defund the police? What is the real problem there with that? What problem are we looking to address, and what problem are we looking to solve? For me, I would say it's not about the political implications of that. Of course, we're a nonpartisan council, and I fully respect that. It's more so about looking at the question and asking, okay, why is this being asked of our residents? What needs to be looked at? Not looking at it as at face value, which it may have come off as, is looking at face value and saying, oh, okay, let's just go with that. It's more so of asking those follow-up questions, asking those additional questions, and not making sure we're not throwing it out immediately.
Okay. In order of priority, please rank 2 or 3 of the most important issues you feel are facing village presently.
Sure, absolutely. Coming from Parks and Rec, I know one of our more pressing issues is the depreciation of some of our parks. There are aspects of them that need to be changed, and council is going forward with some of those decisions. Of course, the bid, securing the bid and securing the contract with DNR, securing that was incredible and fantastic. As a member of Parks and Rec, I do believe that more needs to be done to update the parks, and I was one of the people, along with other members of our board, that did forward some concerns we had to the village engineer regarding that. One of the big parts was getting the blacktop repaved, as well as looking at how we can better utilize the tennis courts in the middle of Clara Miller, alongside reimagining the BMX track. So that would be my top concern. Another one of my concerns, of course, is fiscal health and fiscal accountability. During my time in college, that was one thing I really emphasized with student organizations. Unfortunately, student leaders in the past were not that great with managing their finances. I was one of the first people to implement fiscal policy for student government, and it had been existing since the founding of the school. So there was just this 50-year period of no fiscal policy being made, and no tracking of expenses in a centralized manner. So for me, that's another priority of mine, is ensuring that fiscal health is guaranteed for the village.
Okay. What would you propose would be your solution to the issue that you rank most important?
The issue that I rank most important is going back to my method of being pragmatic and looking at, okay, why, and keep asking those questions. For me, it's having a conversation with the village engineer, seeing, okay, when is this viable? Do we need to create an action plan for this? Do we need to start setting aside funds now? Is there a cheaper way of going about this? For me, that's the way that ensuring that the parks are updated in a timely manner that also ensures that our fiscal health is guaranteed. Because I remember at the joint Parks and Rec and Village Council meeting, seeing some of the numbers for the new play structure that we're putting in Clara Miller, and it's a lot of money sometimes. So for me, it's striking that balance between fiscal health and ensuring our parks and our infrastructure are up to date.
Okay. This appointment will fill the vacancy through November this year. If you were to be appointed, do you think you will run for election for full term next November?
I think I would owe it to all of you if you chose to appoint me, and I think I would owe it to the residents of the village. I think that in that time, I can really perform for not only all of you to make sure that your vote was the right decision, but also to ensure that you all made the right decision on behalf of the residents of Wolverine Lake.
Okay. Questions, anybody? Yeah?
Why do you want to be on the board, Gordy?
I would like to be on village council because I think that at this time I have the experience. Some people reached out to me about the opening, and I looked at the experiences that I have right now, the time that I have available to after graduating and starting my first adult quote-unquote job. You realize you have a lot of time available to give back to other people, and that's why I started on Parks and Rec to begin with, was giving back to other people. I was in Scouts for so long, and that was just a natural thing to do. So for me, that's a next logical step is, okay, people are interested in seeing me on council. Maybe this is the appropriate time to make a bid and make a case.
Do you have any questions of us?
Not at this time, no, nothing comes to mind. I did ask some questions beforehand. I did reach out to people asking like what the commitment was going to look like, what does it look like in perspective to Parks and Recreation, when I was thinking about whether or not to apply for this vacancy, and I believe all those questions were answered at that time.
Great. Anybody else? Nobody? Okay, is there something that you'd like to express that hasn't been previously shared, and that would further highlight why you should be selected for the position?
I think the obvious thing about it is I am a village resident of 22 years, and I am also 22 years old. I think that's the obvious part. I'm extremely young, and I want to emphasize that I am not immature for this position, that I'm not mature enough for this role. I have a lot of professional experience and a lot of leadership experience in the community through both Parks and Rec and the On and Up Community Enrichment Fund, and this is not something I'm doing because it sounded interesting. It's something that I have a background and experience in, and I really do think that this is the next logical step in me both professionally and community-wise giving back to Wolverine Lake.
Okay, great answer. Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you for applying. Yep, go ahead, Dave.
Cody, just to make you aware of one thing.
Sure.
This really came up in regards to the applicants that we have who are on the zoning board of appeals. I had some communications with the village attorney yesterday. The village code is really very clear that we only allow one member of council to serve on the Parks and Recreation Board.
Mhm.
Just to make you aware, if you were the applicant that ended up being offered the position, you accepted. I mean, unless council made a decision later on to change who the liaison to the Parks and Recreation Board is, there's a very good possibility you'd have to step off of the board, just so you understand.
I understand, and I'm okay with that. As much as I love Parks and Recreation, if it came down to that and everyone here gave me the confidence and the vote of confidence that is to be on council, I understand and I will step down from Parks and Rec.
Okay. Are you planning on running in November anyways?
That really depends. I honestly do not know. We'll see. I honestly don't know. I haven't thought that far yet. I know that if I were given the position, absolutely, but otherwise, I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Of course.
Appreciate you coming in and applying.
Absolutely.
Boy, oh boy. Well, I guess now it's up to us whether we want to try to make a decision tonight. If you feel that we can make a decision on it. We're going to have to make a decision sometime.
It'd be nice to have someone for the next meeting, definitely.
I just want you to know, I'm going to abstain from any votes.
Well,
personally, because I think.
I was going to go through what I was
Yeah.
thinking about for a
Each one.
process.
Okay.
So, and I had a feeling this was going to be a pretty difficult decision that we're going to have to make here because of who we had caliber-wise.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's a great problem to have. So what I was thinking about doing was giving each council member a list and have you fill out first pick, second pick, third pick. So that will establish points, a point value. And then what we can do is add up the points, because this is gonna be a tough decision. I really have been thinking about this, but it's very tough. And we've got a lot of good people, so. But that might be able to be a good way to decipher who we could at least narrow it down to. Otherwise, we might be going around numerous times tonight trying to make a single decision.
Right.
At that point, based upon points, we'll have maybe a candidate or two we can narrow down to, and then have a motion on that front.
Okay.
So if that
Yeah,
sounds
that
good to
works.
everybody.
I think that's a good idea.
I think that might be the easiest way to do it. Otherwise, I have no clue.
Just so everybody's aware, with the 6 of you on the council right now, you have to have a vote for, at least 4, to approve an appointment.
What if there's only 5 voting?
Still have to have.
Still have to have 4?
Still have to have that one.
Better vote.
Better vote. Well, just from being transparent is, I don't feel fair. All the candidates did very well, but I don't feel fair. We need to give judgment on the other 4 in the 20 minutes when there's one that I know, extremely well. And what
For a lifetime.
Yeah, right, what they're capable of, the decisions they made, and what they've done in their lives. So that's where I'm struggling. I think there'd be some wouldn't be fair to the other candidates for me to judge all that in 20 minutes. So that's, I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Well, I trust that, Mike, you'd be objective enough to put your first, second, third down. And then if perhaps Grant is one of the two, or three, whatever it works out to be, then you could abstain at that point.
Okay.
On a motion.
Okay.
But I don't see any reason why, like I said, I think you would be objective enough to be able to do that. And that's my personal opinion, whatever the council thinks. But
Yeah.
I feel
I'm
secure
open
in
to
that.
that.
So.
That was my reasoning, my thought behind it.
Appreciate the explanation.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's just being fair to everybody else.
Shows a lot of candor.
Oh, boy.
You have to play the Jeopardy music in the background.
Yeah, for sure.
Very flexible, thank you.
Ain't that hard.
It is for me. A lot of good people.
You got the wrong date on the ballot.
Oh, geez, I did, didn't I? Son of a bitch.
Just yesterday.
Sorry.
We're still being recorded, right?
It's still, making a voting before we
Yeah,
get here.
I did it in a rush this
Now we
morning,
got-
but
Originally it was
guess I
6
rushed too
months.
much.
We had a 6-month lease and now it's month to month.
Gotcha.
And I have to give them a month's notice.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Well, hopefully that notice comes soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, me too,
Just in time for spring and getting the boat in the water.
everybody have everything done?
Yep.
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 Who's collecting?
I'll take them. Tally them up. It's a pen, isn't it?
Mike, how old is Grant? Is he 25, 26?
I'll be 25 next month.
What made him go into mortuary? Do you know?
You know what?
It's not a calling that a lot of people would consider.
You know, he started in high school with the Lynch family, just doing things around the funeral home outside, and then kind of progressed from there. And Tim was really good with him. He developed a big interest in calling
Hey, Bill.
towards it.
1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1.
Oh. 1, 2,
So,
3.
what?
3
In
points?
regards to his
Three points?
Yeah, first,
Okay,
second,
just, that's why I just.
demeanor,
What, yeah, whichever.
Some
ability
people
to
put the points
handle
next
people,
to it.
Yeah.
it was a really good fit
You
for him.
weren't clear.
Very calm
I know, that's fine.
in that regards, and it just developed.
That's
He
fine.
actually started.
I just wanted to make sure I had it correct.
Started, college at a little different path, but then realized that this is where he's supposed to be. So,
Actually, it was going to be a mortician.
You?
Really?
Nope.
My cousin's husband was in that business. And now, I guess it's very family
is.
generated, and
I'm sure he's got
he
a
knew
lot
he wouldn't be able to,
jokes.
like, have a place or either of it, so he eventually left, but he was in it for several years.
Yeah, my great-grandfather was the first licensed funeral director in the city of Detroit.
Wow.
And then my grandfather and his twin brother ran funeral homes as funeral directors on either side of Detroit. My dad and my aunt grew up over top of one.
that's how they kind of get through
I
each
still think
other.
it's a unique calling.
It is.
It's a calling.
Yep.
It really is. Because there's so many different hats you gotta wear.
Yep.
And, you gotta be part counselor,
Yeah.
part.
You almost got to be a doctor, too, because
Well, that's
you
it.
got to learn the parts of the body.
From the, yep.
That's fairly self-explanatory. Okay.
So, tallies up. With Aaron, Aaron Newman with 13 points. Aaron Leyborn, 11 points. Craig Benedetti, 4 points. Grant McNutt, 7 points. And Cody McCain, 1 point. So that's where.
I would like to make a motion that we appoint Aaron Newman to fill the council vacancy.
Second.
Term expiring November.
Term expiring November 2024.
I'll second it.
Motion by Duff, second by Kaznecki.
Yep, that's the name.
Any discussion?
Yes.
No discussion?
No.
Okay, well,
It's interesting.
let's do a roll call, I guess.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Kaznecki,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes,
Motion's unanimous.
there you go.
So we can get a hold of Mr. Newman, his successful, and we'll be seated next month, or next week.
Next week.
Next week, yeah.
Next week.
Cool.
Great.
I really did not think you were gonna get out of here before 10.
Really?
I really thought it was gonna run longer.
Would have gotten earlier if you were on time.
I know. Don't worry, it'll be 15 minutes to next week.
Well,
I'll tell you what, for me, it was a very difficult decision.
It was
it was
That was a tough
difficult.
decision. Yeah.
lots of
Well,
good
it's
candidates.
a good problem to have. I mean,
Yeah,
you've got
yeah, it is.
that many good candidates,
Yeah.
that's what you want.
Yep.
I'll be very honest with you, Mike. I think Grant would be a great board member, but I think it would be better, and
Yep.
Mark and I kind of mentioned it, if he would run in November and not have it look like there's any conflict.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and let the community vote him in.
Well, I
Sounds fair.
think the way the process played out here too, there wasn't any conflict.
Yeah.
No,
No, it's
I
good.
mean,
No.
it's,
It's good, it's clean.
I was really trying to think about how to do it fairly.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's,
And I think it would have been, if we would have just, we probably wouldn't, could have been tied up for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to make a
100%.
decision.
So it was 13, 11, and then what?
7,
7?
4, and 1.
Who was 7?
Grant was 7.
Grant was. Yeah. I guess I think he'd be great.
No, I agree. Okay.
And I think any one of them
right.
would be good on
Right.
council, to tell you the truth, so.
All right, so with that,
Is there any other business we need to take care of?
No, the other business on the agenda was to actually make the motion for the appointment if you were prepared to go ahead and do that tonight.
Yep.
You weren't,
Taken
so-
care of.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the only thing we need now is a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Duff,
Second.
second by McNutt. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good job.
Thank you, everyone.